So now we're going to talk about negotiating the offer. So by the end of this lesson, we'll be prepared to negotiate the offer. So we want to first start, I know I've been a broken record about preparation. We want to prepare for the offer. So we've already done the soul searching on what our salary range is earlier on in the process. We understand what our worth is, or we should, and we should understand when we research the role what that looks like. Are we within the range? Is this what we're willing to accept? So we need to know what our low salary range will be. What am I willing to take? And that's only something you need to know. You don't need to share that. But you need to understand if they come at you with an offer of X dollars, is that above or below what your low is? And then you can decide if it meets your minimum for what you would take to do this job. So, and there's a lot that goes into that calculation on your side. Is this a promotion for you? Is this, is there a need that you have around a specific salary? You need to judge all that based on what you know the industry or the particular role in an industry is going to pay, and make sure that you're getting your fair worth, because this is going to be the most increase you can get in a particular salary bump. It is not going to be from a raise, it's going to be from a job change. You need to know what your PTO minimums are. For some of you, 2 weeks is fine and it's not an issue. Other people are looking at this as a perk where they want additional PTO in order to have it available to use if needed, or maybe they've got requirements in their personal life around travel and things like that they want to be gone. And then there's other benefits or other perks you can look at. There's benefits, certain types of benefits, stipends. Cell phones are a good example of this, where they give you a stipend for your cell phone monthly. Maybe it doesn't cover the entire cost, maybe it covers some of it, maybe they cover your gym memberships. There's other perks that may be available. And what are the things you're willing to walk over in terms of, I'm willing to not accept this offer if I cannot at a minimum get X? Most likely that's going to be around salary, but you need to understand that before the call comes in. You don't need to be trying to figure this out. Way too complex of a thing for you to be thinking of as they're making the call to make you the offer. That's not the time to be thinking about this. You should already have these things in your head, hopefully written down and prepared to talk about. Any asks that you're going to say, let's say that they come at you with a salary you don't believe is fair or on target. You need to have your why already marked about why you think this is important, that you're at a specific salary range, a PTO minimum, a particular benefit that you think, hey, I really think you should pay for my gym membership because of whatever your reasons. Have your why, because that helps them understand why you're asking for this, and they may be able to say, I'm gonna cover this in another area. I've had people that we couldn't cover cell phone expenses, but I said, you know what? What if I come back to you with a salary increase of $1,200 a year and cover your cell phones in that fashion? And that gives them $100 a month extra towards their cell phone bill. That's a way to handle that you're giving them flexibility to cover some of these things that are important to you, but they need to understand why that's important to you. I'm not going to just give you cell phone, but hey, this has always been covered. I was kind of counting on this. We probably should have talked about this through the process, but we didn't. My cell phone's always been covered. It's something I don't feel comfortable covering for whatever reason. I'm not saying you need to make things up, and you certainly don't need to be negotiating just to negotiate. You need to be in a position of, this is why this matters to you. Help them understand it, and understand without sharing, what are the things you're willing to walk over. I doubt you're willing to walk over a cell phone stipend, but I'm not here to judge what you're willing to walk over. You need to understand before you go into this call what are just non-starters for you to take this job on. So prepare for the offer before the interview. You really need to know going into the interview what your general asks are. You can fine-tune them before the offer call comes, but you need to know them, because in the interview they might ask you what your if they make you an offer, are you going to accept it? and you need to be able to give your conditions then. So specific to salary, you need to make your request and be brief. You don't need to add anything. Let them talk next. Let them ask follow-up. You don't need to elaborate. Let's say that hey, if we make an offer, currently that offer would be $70,000 for this particular job. Would you accept it on that? No, I couldn't accept it for less than 75. Stop talking. There's nothing you need to add there for context. Whether you're in the interview or whether this is during the offer, when it comes to salary specifically, you need to make your request. They'll ask follow-ups. Let them talk. I don't care how uncomfortable, I don't care how long the pause is in between. You need to allow them to think and let them talk next. This is a negotiating strategy that once you've made your point and you've made your mark on where they need to be, you don't need to say anything else. Let them talk next. Now, if they ask a question, answer it. You need to be brief. If they ask for context as to why, give them the details. You've probably done your research. We talked about salary.com. You know what the salary range is for this particular role in a particular geographic area for the particular work you're doing, and maybe you're asking for the midpoint of that. They may argue that you don't deserve midpoint. You need to argue that you do. Whatever your logic for how you're getting there, you need to help them at that point understand how you got there. That way there's no miscalculation on that. At that point, you're in negotiation. You don't need to get ugly. You just need to try to hold firm as best you can. And again, if this is above your walk away, don't be willing to walk away over it. If they're willing to come down and they start approaching your walk away, then help them understand that you do have a firm line. But if they're offering you above, then you're in a good position. And if you're just trying to get more, just be careful with that, because you don't want to over negotiate your stance. That'll just irritate people. We had people start on bad terms with us because they got so brutal in the negotiation on what they had to have. I've got a firm line on this and a firm line on this. And finally we had to say, look, if these are all firm lines, we're probably not going to reach an agreement, and let us know what you want to do. And then we would walk away. And then they'd come back, well, maybe we want to do this, and this. And now both sides are unhappy through that negotiation process. There's a way to go through the negotiation process without irritating everybody. You don't have to be a jerk about it. All you have to do is say, here's what I'm asking for. And if their counter is reasonable, take it. If their counter is not reasonable, help them understand why it's not. And give them your logic that you're using to get there. If your logic's flawed, you need to be, if you're no experience in an area and you're asking for midpoint, you need to be humble enough to understand you probably need to be towards the lower side of that, because they've probably done the research on what the range is also, and they know where it needs to be. They're not trying to get you in on the cheap. There are companies like that, but hopefully you've eliminated those types of companies through your interview process of them. But if in this case they're trying to make you a fair offer, be open to talking and let them know you're open to talking. Let's find a way to solve this, whether it's around salary or perks or benefits or whatever the issue is, whatever the holdup is. Let's find a way to work through this, because we both want to work together. And this is a good way to start that process. So, in conclusion, prepare your offer requirements ahead of time. You know the call is coming. They're either going to call to offer you the job or not offer you the job. So we need to be prepared either way. And if there's an offer, you need to be prepared for what exactly it is you need to negotiate. Don't negotiate just to negotiate. Negotiate if there's a need to, and you need to know where that is. So your action item is to build your offer requirements ahead of time. Write them down, keep them with you. That way when the call comes, you're always prepared. Hey, I've got them right here. Here's what I need to have. Here's what I'd like to have. And the company is going to try to do all they can. If they're willing to make you an offer, they're going to try to do all they can to make you happy.